Hey everyone, and welcome to the Survivor Tip for this month. This month we're looking at the theme of, believe it or not, sleep. For some of us as survivors of child sexual abuse, it was very hard for us to get to sleep, and even if we did get to sleep, we never really slept well or deeply if we didn't feel safe. If you translate that now into adulthood, what you'll notice is you may fall asleep very easily and find yourself waking up during the wee small hours without being able to get back to sleep easily. Now, some of that stems back into the fight or flight syndrome, which of course is well known as post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. But we're triggered in our central nervous system, which means our cortisol level is flooded, our adrenal system is working overtime, and it's almost impossible for us to go to bed and feel comfortable and safe and relaxed enough to fall asleep. So here's the thing, you're not alone. A lot of us experience this, and it simply is a hangover from the past that may not serve you, wonderful survivor that you are, anymore. So what can we do with this? Well, a little bit like when you put small children to bed, you start to create or have a nighttime routine. For instance, if you're going to be playing sport at night, you won't be able to sleep for a few hours after that. Why? Because your dopamine levels are up, endorphins have been released into the blood supply, and you'll be on a high. So the trick is to not do a lot of exercise just before you're going to go to bed. Maybe do it 2 hours earlier or prior to that. Second tip, if you're going to have a glass of wine or a gin before bed, that's okay. But try and do that a few hours before you go to sleep so that the alcohol has a way to be released through the system prior to going to sleep. Once you are in bed, you may be one of those people who does fall asleep more easily. But we do know that sometimes we are on high alert, and I don't know if you knew this, but recent information that's come to me is that whales and dolphins actually sleep with half of their brain on high alert. So they swim around with one eye open. Now, there's not a lot in the animal world or the animal kingdom that do have this, but ducks also do that. And I think for us as survivors of child sexual abuse, there's a part of us that possibly has one eye open as well, metaphorically speaking. There are other things that you can do as well, so make sure that when you go to bed, you've released onto paper or done a brain dump around releasing what's sitting in your head. Why? Because guess what happens the minute you close your eyes? All the things that are left untalked about or undealt with will surface through the subconscious, and that can be enough to either keep you awake or to wake you up. I hope I'm making sense. So a good tip, I think, is to make sure that by your bed you do have some note pages you can quickly scribble onto before you go to sleep. That way you're at least helping your mind be more relaxed. Another thing to do is to create the natural melanin that needs to be present for you to fall asleep, is to make sure the lights in the bedroom aren't bright, that they are dimmed so that your body naturally starts, or the brain receives the messaging that it's time for quiet time or sleep. There's another thing you can do as well, and that is don't try and do last minute late night work unless it's absolutely urgent. And the reason for this is because your mind starts to operate in that real problem-solving, solutionizing sphere, which is not really conducive to sleep. I think you will agree. So I hope that's helpful, but I just wanted you to know sleep and survivors do go hand in hand. Clearly, if you sleep too long or for too much, it may be that there's an issue with anxiety or depression, and that needs to be looked at. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of hope that actually sleep is really important. It is something that we need. As a survivor, you may have been left with a hangover of some hypervigilance, which will translate into nighttime as well. So before you go to bed, once you've released from your mind the things that are keeping you awake, also tell yourself that you are safe, you are loved, and you're going to be fine. And I think doing that, plus adding in daily meditation, even if they're only microchips, and by that I mean even if 3 times a day for 60 seconds you get to close your eyes and just chill the mind down so that you can get into some sort of mindful meditation, it's enough to just take the edge off. You deserve that. I know you do. Please look after yourselves. See you next time.